want to thank all of you for being here tonight and for all you're doing, even if there's some of it I don't understand. And I've been sitting next to Babak throughout the evening and going through a host of what I think he would say, and I would agree, would be gap kinds of issues. And as I listen to Vanky, and I am more than just intrigued by your presentation. I actually am up on Twitter. Okay. I have a Facebook. And I fully agree that and I tweet. I'm up on Twitter, but I do tweet. And so actually spoke earlier today with young people about the need to, I think, for leaders to understand that. Maybe not be as able and as facile as they are, but certainly understand how they're communicating. So I think, Vanky, we have that in common. I also would sign up to a common challenge that we both had in prostate cancer, to which I owe a great deal of credit to an awful lot of research a long time ago and young doctors who found it and took care of it very early, and for which I and my wife Deborah, who's with me here tonight, are extremely grateful. And then the third area of commonality is what I would call the gaps. And it isn't very long ago that I would have thought that I would have been at a conference like this and addressing the signature injuries of these wars. And these wars where we ask young people, as we always have in our country, to go off and do the country's bidding. And they do it without question, and they sacrifice in ways that are incredibly special and in ways that change their lives forever. And so what you are doing here in spending time and focusing very specifically on how to move forward in positive ways to help them means more than I can say to me, to my wife, and to the millions who serve our country today, and for which we are extremely grateful. And we would hope that the solutions would get generated rapidly. We live, I think, as Vanky pointed out, in a time where everything is changing so quickly. And I worry a great deal about solutions which get generated in a time frame that don't meet the needs that we have literally today. And everything is moving so quickly. And then to Babak, and we've talked an awful lot about gaps and multidiscipline efforts, interdisciplinary efforts. The other common area that I share with Vanky, and he would know this, is I actually have an engineering degree. And I was an engineer. I actually had one of the most challenging tours in my life in the Navy was trying to figure out how to make an engineering plant work. So taking the theory and putting it in practice in terms of really supporting our national security. So there's a lot in common that when I looked ahead to this conference and to this evening that I didn't really know I had, and that's actually that's really been a terrific discovery tonight. So I just want to express my gratitude for who you are and how you're supporting so much of what we care about. And then that brings me to Colin Rich. And I was given a few notes to talk about Colin, but I talked about Colin. Where are you sitting? Okay. So in spending a few minutes with Colin there and Nancy, who's been married, they've been married 23 years, I think. And Colin retired from the Army, and I would say this is my interpretation, somewhat reluctantly a couple of years ago. Given the choice, I believe he would not have done that. and as a sergeant major, who really was only in 3 different outfits. He was a Ranger with the 75th Rangers, he was in a Delta Force, and he was in the 82nd Airborne. Now, one of the things I've learned, I'm a Navy guy, but I've spent a lot of time with our Army over the last couple of years. A good friend of mine told me a few years ago, if you don't, and I'm the joint guy, I'm the purple guy, I'm the guy that's the integrator, I'm the guy that's the gap guy, I'm the guy that's supposed to do it for all the services. But a good friend of mine said, if you don't understand the Army, you're never going to understand joint. So Deborah and I spent a lot of time with the Army and with members and their units and their families, both in the field as well as back here in the last couple of years. So I actually have, even in a very brief couple of years, and with a background in my own service that deals with SEALs, who are the Navy Special Forces, I have come to understand a great deal about Colin Rich, even though I've only met him this evening, because of his background, because of his service. And it goes back to Desert Storm, and yet what he told me tonight is when he got injured in 2002, what was stunning wasn't that, it was that he went back again in 2004 and 2005, and then he went back again in 2006 and 2007, and he was able, and that represents so much about him and so much about our young men and women who serve. Deborah and I yesterday were at Bethesda visiting with 7 or 8 or 9 recently injured, mostly Marines, but a couple soldiers from Afghanistan. And the first time I went to Bethesda in 2001 or 2002 to visit Marines when I was in the Navy, the message was, I want to get back to my unit. I want to know what's going on with them. And these are individuals without arms and legs at that point who had one common desire, and that was to get back with their unit. And that is in very short, and that's what we saw yesterday, in those that we visited recently, very severely injured in Afghanistan, and their only concern was, how do I get out of here and get back with them? And that is, to me, what Colin Rich tonight represents. And he won't say, maybe he will say this, but he would not be here without the support that he's had from Nancy, period. We've seen this, I've seen this in too many places, in too many hospitals, too many families to not know that it's fact, that the doctors do the medical repairs, the medicine. It is the family support that is the spiritual side of this, that really allows our young men and women to recover. So while we honor Colin tonight, we do so only because he has been incredibly supported by Nancy, who represents thousands and thousands and thousands of spouses and children and parents who've made such a difference for those who've been wounded, and who offer so much for the future of our country, as Colin does tonight. I asked him, how did you get here? How did you get singled out for this? He said, well, somebody called me 6 months ago and said, would it be okay if we put your name in for this award? And then he went on with his life, and he got called recently and said, you won. He said, well, what did I win? He said, you won this Beacon Award. He goes, well, what is that? Because he had not focused on recognition for himself, which is not a surprise. And yet, just in our very brief discussion tonight, I know how honored he is and how special he is to so many of us who are privileged to serve at this time in our country. So it is an honor and a privilege to recognize, introduce, and be able to say for over 2 million men and women who serve how special you are, Colin, Sergeant Major, now, have been, and always will be. And we are grateful for your service, to Nancy for your service as well, and you are what makes us literally whole as a country in these very challenging times, and you inspire us and give us great hope for the future. So, if you would, please come up.